KBLA Talk 1580. And we're taking public media black.
Slow down, girl, let me love you. Darling, I care for you more than my own self. Darling, I'll share with you all goodness and wealth.
You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. We are into hour 2, and let me give you a rundown of what we're going to discuss this hour. We're going to get back into the little bit of LeBron update that he gave on Bronny, because I think that's important, that we know how he's feeling. The king is concerned about his prince, and we are concerned about that family because that's scary. We're also going to get into a little bit about Jaylen Brown and his desire to recreate Black Wall Street. He recently was awarded the biggest contract in NBA history, and while that lasts, because the expectation is it won't be for that long, he's going to talk about what his plans are and how he plans to move forward and make sure that he's giving back through that. We're also going to talk about ESPN. They have some changes planned, and it centers around women's sports and something that they want to do regarding SportsCenter. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about Zion Williamson. He's had a summer, right? We know we talked about what went on with him and Mariah Mills after he announced that he and his current girlfriend are expecting a baby. Well, there is more drama for Zion, and now he's being sued for $1.8 million. We'll get into the details of that. We're also going to talk a little bit about, listen, do you know who Brittany Renner is? Brittany Renner is a young lady who became popular on Instagram. She played soccer, I believe, at Jackson State. She, was one of the Instagram girls that was a fitness girl, but also was attractive and showed her body and, became popular with a lot of men. And eventually some of those men were famous. She wrote a book about some of her escapades with said men without naming names. And basically her legend has continued to grow and grow. Eventually she ended up having a child with a basketball player. And there's some things that developed out of that. So we're going to have a conversation about what happens when the young ladies are ready to move along, and are we giving the guys the same type of fever? Brittany was approached last weekend at Rolling Loud Miami, and we're going to talk about all of that. But before we get into all of that, LeBron put out a statement about Bronny and what he's going through, just to let the fans know that he sees them, he sees the support that they're giving. What he tweeted was, and it was at 9 o'clock this morning, I want to thank the countless people for sending my family love and prayers. We feel you, and I'm so grateful. Everyone is doing great. We have our family together, safe and healthy, and we feel your love. We'll have more to say when we're ready, but I wanted to let everyone know how much your support has meant all of us. James Gang. And he also posted that message on Instagram with a picture of the family from the ESPY Awards that took place a couple of weeks ago. So, best wishes. Obviously, that is an extremely scary situation. The swiftness of the USC staff is probably really appreciated from LeBron and family. So we'll see what develops and what happens as far as LeBron's career. Now, there's been conversation about Jaylen Brown. He recently signed this huge NBA deal, and during an interview, he was asked what he planned to do with that money, how he planned to give back. It's such a large amount. So Jaylen revealed that he would like to recreate a Black Wall Street in Boston. He said that there are areas that are impoverished that could use the economic boost, the economic guidance to walk them through, and he wants to be a part of that process. Jaylen has made it a point throughout his career at various moments to speak out on issues that affect the Black community. He also, for a bit of time, was affiliated with Kanye West and his Donda Sports movement and Donda Academy, but that seems to have dissipated, so we won't hold that against Jaylen. There are some that feel that Jaylen has put himself with a target on his back now because he revealed that part of his plan is for economic empowerment of Black people, and they feel that he would have been better served keeping that to himself, keeping it close to the vest. But I say, how are we supposed to spread the message? How is he going to get other people involved if he just keeps it to himself? Sometimes you need people, even when you have money, you might still need people to help you make certain connections, to get involved in certain areas. So I understand the fear, I understand the hesitancy, but I also think that it's a good thing. So shout out to Jaylen for standing up and making sure that he's not just, and he could do whatever he wanted with that money. It is his, he's earned it, he's worked hard for it, or he will. And, you know, it's his. He doesn't have to make a pledge to enrich the community as well. But I do think that that is something that, one, it's just good PR marketing and basics, so we can get that out of the way. But two, I think that you can tell which players are really involved in it, which ones really care and are not just doing it because it's a way to keep their name in the news cycle and it looks good and it could be a good tax write-off. I mean, I think those are good reasons to do things too, because hey, you got to look after you, but it always helps when it's coming from a genuine place. So shout out to Jaylen, and shout out to Jaylen's girlfriend, Bernice Burgos. She's beautiful. Shout out to Jaylen not being afraid to step out into something kind of different. I mean, I guess you could say she's not because she's an Instagram woman, but Bernice is a grandmother, so, you know, that's different. Anyway, shout out to them. Congratulations once again to Jaylen, and I can't wait to see what his plans are and how he plans to enrich not only Boston, but the other areas which he said in his speech. So when we come forward, we'll have more about the all-female changes that are coming to ESPN that they're working on as far as women's sports. We're going to get into what's going on with Zion Williamson again. And later on, we're going to talk a little bit about Brittany Renner. All that and more, you're checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Where are we on the lineup?
It's official. Avery is producing Main Street Music Days.
We need to be ready. We're going to have lots of people. What's the status on the new sound engineer?
They need an audio technician to keep things level from sound checks to encores.
Make sure audio from one stage does not compete with another.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates, and you can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the show where we hit all the trending topics and hot headlines in entertainment, sports, culture, and lifestyle. So, before we get into our next topic, I just want to drop a couple of things on you. A conversation starter for the second hour, if you will. I mentioned that Jealousy is out, Offset's new album. Cardi B has a verse on there. But I didn't tell you the theme of the video, which you should have kind of picked up on because I mentioned Taraji was in the little tease. It's based off of Baby Boy. So we're going to get a lot of little scenes from that. You know, Jody, my Jody. I'm going to cook the tacos, Jody. You better know some Baby Boy references. Anyway, we're going to check that out later. I know that there is some draft pick talk in there. Cardi said she's the number one draft pick. And there's a line after that that's pretty interesting that, again, I haven't listened to the song yet, but the line is certainly questionable. So until I hear the song and hear how it plays out, I won't get into what it is. But I'm curious about it because I definitely made there to start some controversy. So anyway, I mentioned SportsCenter and ESPN. Well, they're making some changes. SportsCenter is obviously the longest running sports news program on the network, probably period. And so ESPN sees what's happening as far as women's sports. We see what's going on right now with the U.S. women's team in the World Cup. We see what happened with the NCAA college playoffs this past season with Angel Reese and Caitlin of Iowa. We see what the WNBA is doing. And so ESPN is going to make the investment. They are going to make the 11 o'clock hour anchored by all women. They're going to see what's important as far as the world of sports and see that ESPN is really doubling down and investing in that. Not only will all the on-air talent be women, behind the scenes, the show's producers will be female. There will also be females in the control room, and any vignettes that they include in there also will be all female led. And this comes as a sponsorship deal with the financial services of Ally. I think it's Ally. Well, they'll be partnering and sponsoring this look because they want to make sure that they double down on women's sports. So their deal called for them to spend 90% of their ad dollars on women's sports. So they came to ESPN and they came up with this idea to push women's sports, not quite in prime time, but late night. So my question is, will you be watching? Does it matter to you who delivers your sports? We'll talk about that, maybe. You know, you can always hit up the phone lines, 800-920-1580. The YouTube chat is always buzzing. And social media is around. So if you have a commentary, if you have some commentary, a comment, something you want to get off of your chest, hit us up. We'd love to hear about it. So I mentioned a little bit about Zion Williamson. He's had a summer, right? one that has been sort of scandal plagued. But now there's another thing coming up, but this one doesn't involve women, at least not in that capacity. It involves something dating back to his early years in the league. So we know that he's been the subject of trade rumors as of late. We know that his weight has been a subject of conversation. But now he's being sued by a California-based tech company along with his mother and stepfather for allegedly failing to pay back $1.8 million of a $2 million loan he received. Anchor PBC, a company that focuses on blockchain-related technologies in finance and data storage, according to Associated Press, said that it made the loan to 23-year-old Zion and his family members in September of 2021, so about 2 years ago. At the time, the company was trying to get a marketing relationship together with Zion. He was the number 1 draft pick overall in the 2019 draft, so they wanted to, set it up so that he could be a spokesperson for them. They said that they assisted Zion with some community events. They also said that they provided a personal chef and physical trainer for the athlete. So, question number 1 is, why is a blockchain company providing a personal chef and a physical trainer? Like, that doesn't make sense to me at all, what the correlation there is for that. But one thing that does seem to be consistent, everyone that seems to come into Zion's life seems to want to make a play to help him get in shape. I don't know if that's a good thing or if it is a manipulative thing. Because how is that everybody's primary focus? Mariah Mills said the same thing. Just seems kind of interesting. Maybe it's a conversation he has with them, and that's why. At any rate, Lee Anderson, that Zion's stepfather, acted as the 2-time All-Stars business manager and demanded an upfront payment of $150,000. The conditions surrounding the loan from Anchor were that it was supposed to be paid back by August 2022, almost a year ago to where we are right now. Anderson allegedly requested extensions, and when Anchor received a $25,000 check from them, the check bounced. So Anderson represented that the loan was needed urgently because the family had taken on expensive investments, including the purchase of certain real estate in New Orleans, and could not meet their obligations due to temporary suspension of payments from Williams, that's Zion's, sponsorship deals, resulting from an injury. So basically what they're saying is that some of Zion's endorsement deals stopped paying him because he wasn't playing. Don't know if that is true or not, but that is what they are maintaining, what was portrayed to them. According to the lawsuit, Anchor and Anderson entered into a forbearance agreement in which the company agreed not to sue if it received a payment of $500,000 by April 25th of 2023. This all was reported by AP, Associated Press. So the outstanding money after that was due by July 6th. Although Anchor said it received the on-time payment of $500,000, $300,000 of that just covered the interest with the $1.8 million, ultimately meaning that they're unpaid, according to the legal documents. Zion's mother, Sharonda Sampson, is also named as a defendant in the suit, in part because Anchor wired the money into her account. This is sounding a little tricky. Sounding like it's the stepdad that was making moves and utilizing Zion's name to get these things done. We don't know if Zion was really involved, if these things are really true, but these are the allegations. This isn't the first time that Zion and his stepfather have faced a lawsuit regarding Zion's marketing dealings. In June of 2019, a marketing agent named Gina Ford countersued Zion for $100 million in damages, claiming that there was a breach of contract. And they said that came after Zion sued her and Ford and Prime Sports in an attempt to terminate the marketing agreement he made with his company. Once again, sounding like someone was making moves for Zion maybe jumping too quickly in the situations, and they weren't necessarily in his best interest. Well, a federal judge in North Carolina ruled in January 2021 that any agreement Ford had to represent Zion was void because she wasn't a licensed agent in the state at the time when she met the athlete. So he got by that one, but he hasn't played since January, and really the only headlines that he's made this season have been in reference to his personal life. So it begs the question. You want to put family on. You want to see family succeed. You want to see them be able to, survive on their own. You know the statement, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for today. But if you teach him how to fish, he'll be able to eat forever. And so we've seen successfully where there have been family members or friends that have come into the business and really doubled down and learned it and have taken that knowledge and expertise and done well for themselves as well as for their friend or loved one. But we've also seen some situations where it's been pretty messed up and a lot of money has been burned through. So kind of wondering, what would you do? Would you entrust your family member if you were in a professional situation where you needed management, where you were new to the situation, maybe not necessarily the business, but to the environment? Would you put a family member on, or do you think it's best to keep family and business separate? Let me know in the chat. If you have a comment on that, you can hit us up, 800-920-1580. So still going in the YouTube chat, Tony Yayo says there are lots of conspiracies out there surrounding Bronny by some shady actors. He also added that the Boston Barstool guys probably aren't fond of Jaylen and his activism. I would imagine not, but Jaylen, at least in the playoffs, showed up more so than Tatum did this time around. He kind of filled in those blanks, I am actually, the money's there. So in that aspect, I am not surprised that Jaylen Brown signed that contract. But I've always felt like he really wanted to be a number one, and he sort of felt like he was a number one. And he and Tatum were going through that dance that sometimes two alphas can go through on a team, where they figure out who is the one at any given moment. We know how that ended up working out in Miami. Dwayne Wade took a step back. He sort of showed LeBron the way and how to win, because LeBron didn't have that championship experience before he got there. But it can be a complicated situation. Most think, it's a 5-year contract, that Jaylen won't see the end of that contract with the Celtics. We'll have to see what happens. But for now, he's there. And the Boston guys, they're going to lock in, because if they're winning, it's all gravy, right? Until he says something maybe too woke. I don't know. We'll have to see. We also have a comment in the chat. Zion needs to understand that even his $200 million in career earnings is finite. That is facts. But it doesn't seem like it's necessarily him that is causing these issues. It seems to be his handlers who he has involved with him. And it's a precarious situation, because you're worried about outsiders. You don't really know them. Are they really taking care of your money? Do they really have your best interests at heart? So you want to trust family, because family's supposed to love you. They care about you. And they're the ones that saw you, when you weren't in this position, when you weren't on top. But do they have the knowledge base? Do they have the expertise? Are they willing to go and get that? Because you think about someone like Rich Paul. He wasn't an agent. Rich doesn't even have a college degree. But he locked in. He humbled himself. He took a role. He learned the ropes, and he built himself up. Of course, it helps that your best friend is LeBron James, and eventually you probably could get him as a client, but he did do the work. So I say that to say I'm not sure what Zion's stepdad was doing as far as career before he got involved with these two deals, but it seems to be that maybe he wasn't in the best position as far as knowledge and understanding the ins and outs of these deals to make sure that, they could avoid a lawsuit, because one for $100 million, obviously dismissed, but you got to pay for those lawyers' fees. If you were defending a $100 million lawsuit, that's going to cost a little bit of change, I would think. And now you're getting hit with a $1.8 million one. I don't know, it might be time for a conversation. It might be time to reevaluate your whole team, really, because you also think about, as far as the situation got with Mariah Mills. Listen, Zion's a grown man, so what he chooses to do as far as his personal life, his social life, is what it is. And I'm sure someone may have warned him about that situation, but once it exploded, you needed to go to an expert. You needed somebody that could handle that, take that quickly, make sure that that was taken care of, whether that was by payment, whether that was getting that Twitter account shut down faster. I don't know. It lingered for way too long and went on for way too far. And now, especially if you don't come in to training camp in shape, if you're not ready when the season starts, all anybody's going to talk about is what type of freak stuff you like going on. But, you know, them's the breaks. So we'll see what happens with Zion as far as this case. And we also will see what develops when training camp opens up. I will say that I believe it was in April, Skip Bayless said that the Pelicans management was increasingly at odds with Zion's stepfather, who is running the show in the camp. At the time, Bayless claimed that the organization felt as though Anderson's guidance, specifically regarding Zion's health, was holding him back from playing. So, not sure what that entails, but sounds like, you know, they felt like he was trying to run the diet aspect, keep him in check. Andy, you have some insight?
These stepdads need to move out the way.
Is it just stepdads, or is it kind of sometimes
stepdads,
dads?
Fathers, uncles,
All of them.
Kawhi's uncles?
Yep.
They need to fall back. I think they're a detriment to their sons, to their nephews. Like, people are tripping over Mariah Mills. Zion, you need to focus on your health, homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, people tripping over Mariah. No. This $200 million stuff. Zion, get in the gym and get in shape and get on that court and play. And I think all this other madness wouldn't even pop up.
That's absolutely true. Winning cures anything. The thing that is so curious to me, though, like I mentioned earlier, is every person that seems to be involved with Zion mentions his weight and what he's trying to do with it. So it sounds like he's at least talking about it and is somewhat motivated, but something is stopping him from getting it together. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come forward. News and sports is up next. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Darling, slow down. Let me get to know you.
Baby, I've been fantasizing, just looking in your eyes. You know I'm looking for more, and you're what I've been praying for. This kind of love don't come around like this. I'm not one to play around like this. It's so real, and I love how it feels. I love it when we slowly sway. I love it when we think the same thing. I love the way we move, the way we move. Yeah. We can have every night, yeah. We can have every day. Ooh, I want you to.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Governor Pritzker is pushing an effort to combat homelessness in Illinois. Pritzker says homelessness isn't just an economic justice issue, but a racial justice issue as well. Pritzker signed a bill yesterday aiming to move Illinois to functional zero homelessness by bolstering the safety net, targeting high-risk populations. And the report says San Francisco does not have the highest rate of homelessness in California. The report released Wednesday shows Oakland and Los Angeles have more people experiencing homelessness than San Francisco. New Jersey's first West Nile virus case this summer is confirmed in Camden County. A Winslow Township resident tested positive for West Nile on July 17th. Health officials aren't releasing details, but the CDC says the mosquito-borne illness can trigger serious illness and in some cases death. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
MVP's bonus days are back at Lowe's. Right now, save $60 when you buy a DeWalt impact driver or drill for just $99 each. Lowe's knows pros. Valid through 8/2.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Watering Your Lawn During the Hottest Time of the Day and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's pre-application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
To my hometown, my community. Some of you have known me my whole life. Do you notice anything different about the kids in the neighborhood? Ever paid attention? We might start with gifts, money, attention. These are signs. Child trafficking is happening right here in this town. So don't just watch through the window. Pay attention. Because the more we know, the more we'll all know to say no. Learn the signs to look for and how to help at no-to-say-no.com.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You can't even sit in peace, 'cause all of these be on you. I'm just saying I can be, yeah, the one that you call and you talk to, girl. I'll share my world with you. If you're gonna waste your time, then waste your time with me.
You're not wasting your time checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I appreciate you VIPs locking in with us. We have so much more to discuss, as always. So we were talking a little bit about Zion Williamson and his need to lose weight and stay out of trouble. And winning cures everything. So if he comes back and he has a fantastic season, we probably won't care about all of these headlines and all of this drama that's surrounding him. But right now we do, because, you know, the weight issue. Andy brought up how some of the fathers and uncles or whatever that are in these guys' mix might need to take a step back. I was talking about this a couple weeks ago. I mentioned that though people cheer LeVar Ball, I think that was the resurgence of this side. And again, I respect LeVar Ball. I like what he did. I just think that he made some missteps, some very large missteps that, and the other day I said Melo, but I meant Lonzo, that is causing some of Lonzo's health problems right now. Andy has commentary for me.
So you're blaming the shoes more so than his parenting.
Right. I mean, it's not. So here's my thing with the parenting. I just thought that at a certain point, I got what he was trying to do. He was using his, verbrosity. I'm jacking that word up right now. My brain is moving faster than my mouth. Don't worry about it. We'll run it back in a second. But he was using his ego, his loudness, to basically set his son up, to bring the attention to him so that people were getting hype and talking about him. And Lonzo was showing up on the court. There was no denying that when he was at UCLA, he was doing his thing. But I think it started going a little far with all of the First Take and Undisputed appearances, and it was just so much extraness and how he bred his children. It definitely felt to me like he was in his moment reliving his dream when it really should have been about his son. And I think that he completely botched how he handled those shoe things, start to finish marketing, not being prepared for the tidal wave that came after, not delivering on the product, not making sure the product was wear tested, because from that first summer at Summer League, Zoe was having problems with those shoes. So I think LeVar kicked it off, but you mentioned Kawhi's uncle, another one. I think it's Uncle Dennis. I think that is his name. He got in the mix and had some stuff going crazy. Certainly we saw T. Morant do a bit much and felt like he was enjoying the spotlight on him this season. What, Andy? Go ahead. What?
I'm going to defend the homie LeVar Ball.
Okay.
I think a lot of that hype. I mean, let's take away the shoes in the business.
Okay.
I can see how that can turn a lot of people off. I think you have to blame those sport networks, right, who invited him on. How else was he supposed to act as a guest? You know what I'm saying? And quite frankly, the ratings went through the roof.
They did.
I'm just saying.
But here's my thing. Everybody loves a train wreck, right? People love to see foolishness played out in front of them. I myself am a cheerleader from foolishness on occasion. So I'm not passing judgment on that. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have come. I'm not even saying that he shouldn't have relished a bit of his celebrity. But I think that there were definitely moments when you saw it overshadowing, when he was weighing in way too much on coaching choices and playing time. And it kind of became a distraction, and allegedly throwing out private conversations of things that are going on. Not even like he was the source. He is the source sitting up on TV saying these things. I just think that was not helpful.
I look at LaMelo prior to the injury.
Mm-hmm.
LaMelo's a stud.
Yeah.
A G. And I want to say he was wearing them Triple B shoes too.
No, he did not. He refused to wear them. LaMelo didn't wear them. Okay. Zoe held it down. The baby was wild. The baby is just like his daddy. He was like, nah.
Okay, so I guess LiAngelo too. Was he wearing the shoes? I mean, he
was he wearing them? Where was he gonna wear them? Was he getting playing time anywhere?
I mean, he was practicing with UCLA until he did that dumb
what
thing.
He did, yeah.
But I will say this about LeVar Ball. I think after they got drafted and got to the league,
he stepped back.
He stepped all the way back.
He did.
So I think he did his job as far as just promotion. I mean, he helped get Lonzo the second drafted pick. Now, I think if, revisionist history, I think Magic Johnson would have been like, damn, I should have got Jason Tatum.
Right.
But, I mean, Lonzo, before his injury, even in Chicago, was doing this thing. So, I don't know.
That is facts. I really hope that it is not a situation where he has to do like an early medical retirement because, I would like to see him win and succeed. I think when you think about Magic making that pick, I think about where the Lakers were at that time period, very much down in the dumps. The city was looking for a hero, a homegrown story felt and sounded good. And we thought that maybe they had time to develop him because I think he was high for that pick, but I don't necessarily think it was a bad pick. I think it was just a lot of circumstances around it that made that not work.
I agree. I don't think it was a bad pick because considering the players that was on that squad with him. I mean, we had a Brandon Ingram, you had a Kyle Kuzma, you had a Alex Caruso. I mean, quite frankly, I think if you gave him a couple years, you know what I'm saying?
They would have gelled into something.
They would have gelled, quite frankly. But, we're the Lakers. We need star players. So
we always
traded
need
away to
players.
get AD.
Except for what? There's only been a few that we've gotten through the draft, right? Like, we are primarily, let's get them big boy free agent team, I
think the last time we actually got some solid players through the draft was Kobe and D. Fish in 90s.
So let me ask you, you don't consider someone like Brandon Ingram a decent draft pick? Like, how do you... decent is,
no, he's a decent draft pick.
I should say, but I mean decent isn't the word that I use. I should elevate that. You don't consider him a good draft pick? You don't think that he's developed into a solid player? Not a star, but solid, like he...
No, I think it was a solid draft pick, 100%. I didn't like the fact that we had to give up our youth.
To get AD here?
To get AD. Although we did get a chip, I like the whole Golden State Warriors. They did everything through the draft. And I just felt like, what was that, 2017? I just felt like we had a solid group of players. But I get it. We're the Lakers. We want big names here.
But do you think in doing it through the draft, when you think about Golden State, did they not benefit from those early years where Steph didn't play that much? When it was like him and Monte Ellis and a couple other guys that I can't remember who was out there, what's his name? David Lee, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
When the team was just, they were okay.
Right.
They weren't making the playoffs. They were still solid on threes. They had a player that led the league in threes. And, Steph, when he got healthy, abolished that, and Clay. But I feel like a lot of that was, good draft picking. Was Jerry West still with the franchise when that was happening?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, I think it was just kind of the basketball gods because there was a lot of injury for them to contend with that allowed them some wiggle room.
For sure. I say that only because when you look at after Shaq, no. After the Lakers won their chip in 2010, right? Mm-hmm. I felt like that period from like 2011, even though Kobe was still Kobe.
It was ugly.
It was still ugly from 2011 to about 2018 before LeBron came. It was ugly. I remember Steve Nash came. We were getting players when they were, GP and Carmelo, we were getting players on their last legs. So I was just like, look, Lakers, let's stop doing that. Let's do what the Warriors are doing and just play through the draft. So that was my thing.
I feel like there was a lot of head coaching changes if you think about during that time frame. So there wasn't very much stability. I think they didn't have an identity as a team. It seemed to fluctuate from year to year.
Yeah.
So, but I think if you look at even though he flamed out in the playoffs this year. You look at D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
You know, he turned out okay. Kyle Kuzma, what's he doing over there in Washington?
Kuzma's doing his thing in Washington.
And he got a nice contract this summer. Shout out to him.
Yep.
So in the chat, Tony Yayo says Ingram is better than Ben Simmons. Everybody's better than Ben Simmons at this point because Ben Simmons is never on the court to justify whatever he is. I will say that. T. Sworn said Ingram is and was solid.
Yes.
And Tony Yayo, you are speaking my language. He said, speaking of Jerry West, is Winning Time HBO series worth the time of investment?
100%.
150%,
And only
if I
saw
can
one
say
episode.
that. Let me tell you, I watched the whole season, but before I even watched the show, I read the book that it is based off of. And so the author, Jeff Pearlman, he wrote 2 books. One was about the Showtime dynasty. The other one was about the Lake Show, the Kobe and Shaq years. Haven't finished that book yet. But when I tell you, when I finished his first book, before Winning Time was even a thing, I was like, oh, this needs to be a TV show because so much of it is true. It sounds like it's made up. And really, the TV series doesn't even go into all of that. And so I love it. I am so excited. It comes back in about a week and a half. It's coming to Max.
Jerry West didn't even like who was he didn't like his portrayal.
Nobody did. Magic was upset about it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So Magic was upset because he felt like, and the reason why a lot of them were upset is because they felt like they're here, they're living, they wanted to be involved a little bit more.
Got it.
But the problem with that can be at times when you are making television or a film off of real life people, you obviously want to be sensitive, but when they're living, it's also a complication because it's not going to be exactly the way that it was.
Right.
However the story lays out.
That's true.
And so they were unhappy about it, which Magic had his documentary, They Call Me Magic, which he did on Apple Plus TV. It was excellent, by the way. I talked to Magic for that. And the Lakers released their 10-part docuseries on Hulu, which, you know, basically, I mean, listen, it's not that much difference. Like, the facts seem to be very much in the same vein. So it's not really a dispute of whether the facts are the facts. It's just the sensitivity and the ego of how would you feel if someone was like, hey, I'm going to have someone do the Andy story, but you can't be involved and you don't have any input. Might make you a little uncomfortable.
But you felt that the depictions were pretty much on point. I mean, when you watch the Hulu documentary, you can see, you know, the dissension with Jerry West, this, that, and the third. So,
I mean, obviously, I think that what I keep in mind is, and well, I was going to say I think most people get this, but I don't know. Some of y'all out there. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that most people can distinguish something that is fictionalized where there are things added to make a show in order for things to proceed along more so than, you know, thinking that Jerry West literally did A, B, and C. So again, I understand the sensitivity, but, you know, I don't know. I thought it was highly entertaining. I like the Jerry West character. Can't wait. Can't wait to see more.
After work.
You need to, because season 2 starts next weekend and I will be discussing it, and you know, you got to get into it. So shout out to the cast on that. See if maybe, they can't promote anything. Well, so because of the SAG after strike, there is no promotion. So, you know, maybe we'll think of another way. So the chat is buzzing. Tony, D Black said, don't forget about the CP3 trade being sabotage. Who's going to forget about that? That was devastating. We will never know what could have been. We'll never know, because I think that CP3 at that time, if that Lakers team would have came together, listen, multiple chips, I believe. You know how down in Miami they were running them off, which I think people took that way too far. I mean, they did win 2. Nobody really expected them to win 7. But that's how I feel the type of run that the Lakers would have been on if CP3 would have came at that time period. It's just heartbreaking. You even look at what he was doing when he was with the Clippers, and it was like, it's almost there. It's almost there. But you know why it wasn't there? Because it was supposed to be with the Lakers, so it was never going to come together right. Those are just my feelings about that. T. Sworn said that the Lakers gave up too much for AD to pick up. I'm 50-50 on that. I understand them investing in that. AD is a generational talent. However, he's very fragile health-wise, and that colors everything. Respectfully, with disrespect, I would refer to AD as China doll sometimes. I'm sorry, AD. I'm not trying to be hurtful. I'm just saying, there was a lot of injuries, and again, not your fault. But there were times when it seemed like, it may not have actually been that way, but it seemed like you weren't interested in pushing ahead a little bit, like giving it that little extra gear up to come back better than ever, to really hit the weight room in the off season, to improve your game and step up. Felt like we were missing some of those things.
I feel like some of these players, they are already like naturally gifted, so they don't necessarily feel the need to, work that extra hour to be better. And I think that's what AD kind of suffered from. I mean, man, you got drafted to the NBA and you're already thrown into the Olympic USA squad.
Right.
I know you won a national chip and all that, but come on. And I know USA, they always grab maybe that one college player. I get it. AD was a national champion. I get it. But, sometimes it's like these cats are spoiled, man. Same thing with Zion. You know what I'm saying? These cats are spoiled. Everything comes easy to them. So
I think the thing that has always kind of been interesting to me with AD is I don't see how you could be on a team with LeBron and see how he takes care of his body, the investment that he makes for it, and it not be motivating to you to some degree. Because I feel like you can tell the difference when AD got into beast mode, and there are moments when he seemed really focused, and you can tell when he's just kind of, floating along. And I'll be honest, when LeBron was making that speech this past season after they lost in the to Denver in the finals, I really felt like some of that, we know it was directed to the Lakers organization and basically go get me some help, even though shout out to the Lakers, they went and got them some help mid-season. Rob Pelinka did his thing, and you got to give him credit for that. He surrounded them with what they needed to be, just kind of ran out of gas when we got later into the playoffs. And maybe it's just that Denver was unstoppable. It certainly was their year. It certainly seemed to come together at the right time. But I felt to a degree that some of that message was directed to AD when LeBron was talking about, leaving it up. I didn't think that all of that was smoke for the Lakers or, organization on that level. I thought it was kind of like, hey, I'm out here putting myself out here in year 20 doing historic level performances. I need you to lock in and tap in and get focused. And I felt that there were times throughout the playoffs when you didn't always see that from AD. And I don't know if it was an ego thing. I don't know if it's at times Jokic. He shrinks. It was Jokic.
It was Jokic.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I mean, he embarrassed AD straight up.
He did. But I even feel like there were points in the earlier rounds, even though we saw some of the best basketball that we had seen from AD during that time period, I still felt there were times when he was a little iffy, little not sure, like, is your heart in it?
LeBron ain't forgot after he beat Kareem how AD acted. And so, yeah, I'm with you. He probably did take a shot at AD with that statement.
That's what I'm saying. I really think that. I think that, they are close, but, maybe not as close as we think we are. When we come forward, we will have more trending topics and headlines to get into. We're going to talk about, can you delete your, Drea said, I don't know if I can say this word on the radio, so I'm going to pause and think about it. But can you delete that? We're going to talk about that as it relates to Brittany Renner and some others. All that and more. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
The Youth Forward organization calls for a cannabis candy ban for products they say target children. I'm Maisha Cairo with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Mid-July, a coalition of groups committed to raising awareness about cannabis products that look like candy called on Governor Newsom to enact a cannabis candy ban. Youth Forward, an organization working to shape cannabis policy, is leading the charge with a petition to direct tax revenues from marijuana into youth and community reinvestment programs. The Cannabis Candy Child Safety Act, Assembly Bill 1207, passed the Assembly with a 61-0 vote in May. The bill aims to prevent children from consuming cannabis products by regulating packaging and advertising. It is currently under review in the Senate Appropriations Committee. KBLA listeners, what are your thoughts on this one? Let us know on our social platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Contracts, and grants. This is Rambo, and I'm back August 5th. Contracts, and grants. I'll be at the Westin Hotel, LAX, Saturday, August 5th. Me and my guests are fast-paced in the contracts and grants. They only speak 6 minutes each. I have LA County, I have the city, I even have Everett, the CEO of Lindustry, coming to talk to you guys. And for the first time ever, I have Metro's Director of Certification coming. We average over 700 attendees, so you know the rules. Parking's about $15 with the event validation, event, coffee, snacks, all free, paid for by Rambo Industry. And yes, you can bring guests. So save your seat, DeonRambo.com. Listen, contract ready's only 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12. But if you get there around 9:30, I'll probably be doing some Q&As and things like that before the events I never get a chance to do. I honestly keep saying, I don't know what's more important for LA businesses right now than local contracts. So I'm back, Westin Hotel, LAX, Saturday, August 5th. August 5th. It takes 2 minutes to register. DeonRambo.com. Go register now. DeonRambo.com.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into RSVP. Let me tell you what we have coming up. So the next hour, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about respectability politics and a little bit of what's going on with Brittany Renner and what happened to her last weekend at Rolling Loud. I want to get your opinion if this person was right or not. We're going to talk a little bit about what J. Cole says about females in hip-hop. We're going to get into that. And we're going to talk a bit. Well, I think we got a second. We can get into this right now. So Foxy Brown is still beefing with Lil' Kim. Still, after all this time. Lil' Kim was at the Drake concert over the weekend. Drake shouted her out. There was video showing Kim all hyped up to see. The two were hanging out. Foxy, being bitter, posted on Twitter, her Instagram story. Nah, not the nosebleed seats. I'm crying. Foxy, we got to let this go. It's 2023. What about UNITY? I know that's Latifah's song, but come on, it's time to move around. Or release some music. Go get with Nicki. Pick a side, but don't do this. Don't throw blind shots. We still love you, Foxy. We know Fox was one of the queens, but you got to stop that. We too old for that. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, you will have news and sports up next. And then after that, we're going to get into what these women do. All that and more, you're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you ever hit me on a late night, I'll give you a clear mind. Might give you some insight. I'll share my world with you. If you're gonna waste your time, waste your time with me.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Governor Pritzker is